This is ThinkTech Hawaii. Community matters here.
Hey, aloha, and welcome back to the ThinkTech Hawaii studios for another episode of Security Matters Hawaii. We have Ryan Allas today with us, the president of High Rise Escape Systems. And I tell you what got us here, these Marco Polo fires and what seems to me to be sort of a pushback against getting some sprinklers in those buildings. And you're going to meet Ryan in a minute, and I wanted to tell you that he's developed some other egress systems that can still get people out of a situation like that when there perhaps are no sprinklers, or even if there are sprinklers and you're trapped and there's no way out. So Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. Ryan's coming to us from East Coast time. How are things over there, sir?
Way over on the East Coast. Well, we just lost the sun to you guys, right? Thanks a lot. So if it gets dark on me, that's the reason.
All right.
We're here in Orlando.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't take my audience through a little bit of your history, as much as you care to share, and sort of let's bring them up to maybe this point in time at whatever pace you're comfortable with.
Oh my gosh, this is only a half-hour show.
I get that a lot.
I used to, yeah, right? I used to be a firefighter, and after 9/11, we had a lot of people coming to the station, praying with us, donating things, trying to do something. And I'm down here in Florida. There wasn't a whole lot we could do. We do the best we can all the time. However, I knew of some technologies, and we had a feeling that this might start happening frequently. They really pointed out a vulnerability in high-rise buildings, multi-story buildings, and how inexpensive and low-tech fire can be. So, I told Burton to do something a little bit more. We knew about some technologies when we put together sort of a chicken sandwich. And gosh, it's been so long. Where does time go? We formally started in 2005 when we had enough to get together to start a functioning business, and it's gone from there. Basically, for those that don't know of our product, and there's a lot of people that don't, we manufacture a personal escape system capable of going up to about 100 stories in a straight line, 1,000 feet, about 305 meters. It's a cable-driven device. It kind of looks like a pulley. It acts like a pulley. One side goes down carrying the user, and the other side automatically comes up for the next person automatically. There's no reloading that's necessary. So the person's body weight gets on it. It's like it's called a controlled descent device, but it's a centrifugal braking system. So it lowers you automatically. So if grandma can get into this and out the window or over the balcony, it's going to let her down nice and slow all by herself. Probably about the equivalent of one floor every 3 seconds, if that helps give a better idea. So we have a couple different anchorages to get this onto the building. Just a simple bracket can be painted the color of the building to match and textured so it doesn't stick out or look ugly. And we have portable systems that fire rescue can use that brace between the ceiling and the floor. A couple pipes that go together pretty quick, can be set up in about 90 seconds, and provide this portable anchor point to get people out. Otherwise, here we are many years later. We've done installations all over the world, from residential, commercial to industrial and military stuff. We've been doing a lot of air traffic control towers. Go figure, you make something for grandma to get out of a building and then the military wants to play with it. But air traffic control towers are a perfect thing because you could smoke in that center console. It goes right to the top. That's where everybody is. And once they're forced out onto the balconies, there's not a whole lot of places to go.
Wow, that's interesting. So it sounds like the development process was, you sort of knew the issue, but there was some discovery in where the applications would really work well. What was some of the early ones? Did you already have a working device that you just had to adapt the mount?
Yes.
Okay.
controlled descent devices have been out since the 40s.
Okay. Wow.
And that's at the heart of the system. So it's not a new technology, but it's one that does not require any power. It has a long shelf life. It's easy to use, and it's inexpensive. So it was a perfect thing to incorporate into our system with the different hardware anchorages. And we have an evacuation suit. I know you've got some pictures to show at some point, but we have a aluminized, it's like a Kevlar, it's sewn with Kevlar thread, but it's a para-aramid fiber. It's a similar material to spacesuits, racing suits, firefighting proximity gear. And we made like a big pair of overalls out of it, so to speak. So the user, adult and child, somebody that's disabled, elderly, they can get inside this suit and climb over the railing or out the window or be assisted, and the rest of the system lets them down. So just in case you had to pass the fire floor, this will offer you some protection. It also offers protection from bumping against the building, coming in contact on the way down. And another thing that we have is we have a swing arm that holds this anchor point about 3 feet away from the building to help reduce with this, so that you don't drag against the sandpapery side of the exterior of the structure or get hung up on another balcony, depending on what it is.
I see.
So we had some components. Like I say, we put some things together to make a chicken sandwich out of, and we kind of took it to market shortly after that.
Yeah, so I was thinking of like on a really windy day, right? So that whole idea of, but that's still better than suffocating or burning. I mean, so obviously a few scrapes along the way.
Smoke is pretty motivating, Andrew.
I think so. I don't think anyone's going to battle about that. So as you began to deploy, was it urban? What were sort of the very first use cases that you came upon? Were you able to get some deployments out there and show folks that, how well this could work?
Gosh, one of our first people that contacted us was a resident of the Ritz-Carlton in Jakarta.
Oh,
and
wow.
they had already suffered a terrorist attack in the past, and that was one of the first ones that I remember. And a couple years later, they were attacked again, another bomb in their lobby. And I was quick to reach out. Fortunately, he wasn't there. They didn't need to use it, but I was like, oh my gosh, they might have. What happened? What if it got used? And we just didn't know. So he's safe. But yeah, it's strange. And I think most of our stuff goes overseas, and I think Americans have become very complacent with their safety, and a lot of that is due to the fire codes, which is a good thing and a bad thing. You could walk into any single floor structure over there these days that was just built, and you're going to have a sprinkler system in the ceiling. You're going to have smoke detectors, duct detectors, emergency exit lighting, the fire extinguisher next to the door, the fire alarm pull station, and we see them every day. We don't think a whole lot about them. But and then the construction, you've got the drywall, all the codes and standards that have gone into making that as safe as it can. And here in America, we have that, and we have that comfort when we go to sleep. In other parts of the world, they don't have that comfort. They're on their own, and they've stopped and passed some fire departments burning down a building, so to speak, or just not there, or incapable, or don't have the facilities. 99% of the world's ladder trucks can't reach above the 7th floor.
Wow. Okay.
So what is the plan? We preach plan 2 ways out, right? But there is no plan. There hasn't been a plan. And we've got a plan now. And we're trying to educate people that we have an option.
Yeah, I did not know that are there no codes in like Europe and India and Asia, China?
There are a lot of codes, and India in particular. I was chatting with a potential distributor a couple of hours ago. They just had another big fire, and these happen. Trust me, it all funneled to me. Like, hey, Ryan, did you hear about this? And they start sending me the stories, and it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But they think I need to know about it, and unfortunately, they go on continually. The big sprawl going on in India they do have codes and they put them up, but then there's no enforcement factor after the fact. So they put stuff in, years go by, exit doors are locked, sprinkler systems, if they were included, aren't checked.
Yeah, they never test them.
Right, and people do some crazy things. They grill on their porches in high-rise buildings and stuff, and the heat goes right up to the ceiling above them. So there's the human factor, and then there's obviously the code factor. But most of our stuff still goes overseas to these people and it's not only a fire safety device. A lot of people use it as a security means as well. Worried that the family might be kidnapped, or they're high net worth individuals, CEOs traveling, or if they're working for the government in different parts of the world. They want their own little piece of escape plan, their golden parachute, to get out as a plan B. And they don't like people to talk about it, but yeah. So we've done all sorts of different applications, and people find us, and then they mention a new application, and we're like, yeah, we can do that. That's simple.
That's awesome. So Hawaii's part of the U.S., but we are overseas. We're out here in the middle of the Pacific, and It to me, I was not aware until just recently, this Marco Polo fire, which is a reason I reached out to you. We apparently have about 300 of these condos that I guess were built before sprinklers were mandated in construction. Right. And because I've read of, I think there are several states now that I think require a sprinkler even in a new home. Is my understanding.
They're moving that direction.
Yeah,
they are. The NFPA is moving that direction to do that because it's the next best thing to do. We've got all these other codes and standards, to help save lives. And when it slows down and, we sit around and like, well, what do we do next to make this safer? You just got to keep on, making it safer. And other parts of the world are carrying on. They're just behind us.
I see.
Now we've just been a leader for a long time, and that's a good thing, and hopefully we'll continue to be that way. But we are a very safety conscious community, and because of that, people become complacent, and but they aren't necessarily any. I guess there's still a great reason to plan 2 ways out, and if there's and if your local fire department doesn't have a ladder truck tall enough to get you, or you just think that you're the hot stuff that they're going to come and rescue you first, you should probably come up with your own plan. Yeah. And it's important for people to share with their family members and practice that plan. Plan is nothing, planning is everything.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That is the first section of our show. Went by really quick. We're going to take about a 1-minute break, pay a couple bills, and we will be right back with Ryan Ollis.
Jump out of a building.
This is ThinkTech Hawaii, raising public awareness.
Thank you. Kindness. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Hi, I'm Dave Stevens, the host of Cyber Underground, every Friday here at 1 p.m. on ThinkTechHawaii.com. And then every episode is uploaded to the Cyber Underground, that library of shows that you can see of mine on YouTube.com. And I hope you'll join us here every Friday. We have some topical discussions about why security matters and what could scare the absolute bejesus out of you if you just try to watch my show all the way through. Hope to see you next time on the Cyber Underground. Stay safe.
Hey, aloha, and welcome back to this episode of Security Matters Hawaii. We've got Ryan Ollis here with High-Res Escape Systems, and we're talking about how to be smart. Even if you have sprinklers cause steam, there could be smoke, there could be other reasons why you need another source of egress out of a building, an emergency high-rise escape. He's pioneered a lot of this type of technology. through adaptation. What did you call it? A chicken sandwich? I like that. I liked your description.
Yeah,
you just
sandwich. We made a chicken sandwich.
made a chicken sandwich out of the stuff that was in the fridge. I love it. Let's talk to a few of these, and I know since you're remote, I'll have the image up. I'll describe what I'm looking at as best I can, and maybe you can kind of take our audience through what they're seeing.
Okay.
Rich, what do you got for me there? So I've got a couple of folks, looks like in one of the bags, there's two of them suspended. I presume one's going up and one's going down?
Okay. No, nobody wants to go up.
Okay, sorry.
They're misleading like that.
That makes sense.
So this is one of our portable systems, our larger portable system, which is called our Responder 2. So rescuers can set this up in about a minute and a half.
Wow.
They roll it up. It comes in a roller cart similar to something golf clubs might be transported in.
Okay.
And what can happen is fire rescue teams can deploy this via a ladder truck, or they can be pre-positioned in some high-rise buildings, or they can just take it and roll it up the elevator in the emergency mode and get it to the upper floors or wherever it's needed, above the fire, so to speak.
Wow.
So this one lets two people down at the same time. So they can quickly, at 3 feet per second, depending on how tall they are, we have an algorithm where we can figure out how long it would take to potentially evacuate them.
Sure.
And then if they've evacuated everybody from a certain area, they can go and move it to someplace different. Both of those people in the picture are inside our fire resistive suit. The evacuation suit is what we've called it. It's aluminized to reflect 95% of radiant heat and protect against abrasions on the way down.
Yeah,
we had a reporter years ago say it kind of makes you look like a mashed potato or a baked potato, but that's better than a mashed potato. Is what we like to call it.
Yeah, we've got a shot of looks like a firefighter from maybe in South America, kind of in the. He looks like he's tucked in there, nice and tight, you know. And
he's a big guy.
Yeah, he's smiling.
Like 6'9". So yeah,
he's 6'9".
Most people, most people fit inside the suit. So you're down and. You slide in there, and you can't really see where you're going because most of us are acrophobic. Nobody likes getting at the heights, but smoke and fire is pretty motivating. But yes, he looked like a little kid on a ride in that particular one. But with this other fire crew, we sold some to their equivalent of FEMA down in Panama. I think that was in Panama, that particular picture.
Man, I can't. In my brain, I'm sitting here wondering why every building wouldn't want to have a few of these ready to deploy. Because it doesn't even have to be the firemen. If you train people in the building how to deploy it, I mean, maybe, I guess the rule is everybody egresses and you leave it to the pros. But, if you had some folks that were capable on a floor before fire got there that could help people get out or something, it just makes sense to have it available.
Yes, and it's great that the fire department have it, but you don't sit around and wait to be rescued.
Yeah.
Evacuation is the opposite of being rescued because you've waited too long and now you're in trouble. And here's the big thing that people don't realize too, is that when the fire service comes, they're trained to put out the fire, and they're the only ones trained to put out the fire. And if they have to suddenly change their plan because Andrew up in his penthouse over there in Hawaii, didn't plan 2 ways out. It takes a lot of personnel, and fire doubles every minute. So every time it's delayed, and then the manpower is going to rescue because rescue comes before property and everything else. So they're going to change their plan of attack to save Andrew first, which I'm sure you're happy to hear. But it doesn't help put the fire out, and it doesn't solve the problem of extinguishing the fire because they're the only ones trained to do that. They have the capabilities to do that. So everybody does need to try to plan their own way out and to have equipment. It doesn't have to be my equipment. There's other stuff out there, and there's no one-size-fits-all in this market. But we all work together. We're a small community, and if there's something that won't work with our device, there's a couple other ones on the planet that are also great devices.
Awesome. Let's. I think we've got a video clip of a recent. I guess it was a deployment. It was a test or a deployment on an Air Force base. We're going to roll that. I'm going to see if I can talk us into it there, because I know you're blind as a remote guest.
I was there, so
Yeah, go ahead,
think
Rich.
I know which one you're talking about.
Okay, let's see what we've got. I think this one was from Dyson. I think it'll give the viewers a really good idea what this is all about and how rapidly you can get it out. So we've got, this is Dyson Air Traffic Control Tower.
Okay.
So we've got a female there, looks like a soldier, working on, she's raising the tower up, locking it in place.
Okay. Yes, this particular installation, their issue was where the runways were, we couldn't obstruct the runway to put we had to build an anchor post, basically. And catwalks are funny. A lot of these air traffic control towers, there's nothing to attach to, that's right against the edge.
I see.
So we needed to create an anchor post. And most of the time, that's 6.5 feet tall. However, that would obstruct their vision all the time if it was there. So
okay.
Our engineers came up with this great idea to have a pivoting post.
Center to the top where everyone is, so all the smoke. And they've
smoke,
got to get.
Smoke is what drives people out onto the ledges.
Yeah, they've got to get
why people
outside of
jump,
that, and
'cause they can't breathe.
from there they're trapped. And so
Correct.
so that's a perfect application. I just don't know if people. I think people think of fire, but don't necessarily. If you've never, when I was in the Navy, we got put in the fire rooms and the gas rooms and all that kind of stuff to test our equipment.
Right.
So but if you've never been, and obviously you were trained that way. If you haven't done that kind of stuff, you don't understand how it's hard to think. You get confused easily. It's dark. People think, I'll go down on the floor and there's no smoke or heat. It's down there too. It's never like you, I guess like you see in the movies. So this preparation idea, you mentioned.
There's no smoke in the movies.
You mentioned.
Smokeless fire. That was.
Yeah, that's the one we all wish we had. You mentioned complacency, which I feel like maybe Hawaii's a little too complacent with fixing some of these issues, or looking for some alternatives like this. How often do you run into complacency, in the United States, in the markets here where, things have evolved, we have great stuff, but if it was built 30, 40 years ago, apparently, like in the case here, we have hundreds of condominiums without any sprinkler systems. Is that a widespread sort of thing where there's just complacency to spend the money to fix these issues?
Oh, well, as far as retrofitting a building for sprinkler system, it's $100,000 plus. It's great that they have them if they can do that, but in many cases they can't. And being cost prohibitive is one of those.
Yeah.
But our system, can do something, especially when it's amortized over a group of people, sharing the system. So like if there's one per floor on one of these condos in Hawaii, it could get as inexpensive as $250, $275 per life.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a couple $1,000s for a unit, depending on the length of cable that's needed. So it's not very expensive at all when you factor in, what it's doing. So when you start thinking about nursing homes, hospitals, and what the fire services and what people that work in these facilities are responsible doing, it just can't be done. I mean, we used to go to the fire department. I remember there was a lady who wasn't hurt at all. She slid out of bed. She missed it coming back from the bathroom in the middle of the night, slid to the ground. She just needed help getting back in bed. And we went to just help lift her up. But elderly people get onion skin, is what we'd call it at the fire department. And it is just so delicate. And we ended up just pulling a bunch of chunks of skin off or just lifting her with her own weight. So now we had to take her to the hospital.
Sure.
So in the movies, firemen run up these flights of stairs and throw the little lady or whomever over their shoulder and carry them down. You couldn't do this to an elderly individual without killing him on one flight of stairs.
Wow.
So that you need a plan in these facilities, and I think we have a great plan that can do that. One after another, you can roll someone up in a wheelchair, slide them into our evacuation suit, gently let them out the window, and there's plenty of help on the ground. And that's just one of the applications.
Yeah, so you think of it even used for orderly egress in case of something not even for fire, but just as an easier way to perhaps get someone moved because we need to move them. You know what I'm saying? That's an interesting point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you did mention the safety aspect of wanting a way to get out just for your own security, to another means of getting away from like a high floor that you know high net worth individuals might want, or want to throw their kids in there or something. So very interesting ideas that I didn't consider. You know, when we were thinking of this episode, I was thinking more of just fire escape and getting out of the smoke mostly. You know, and that ability to get away. Do you think that if people have the way that they would train? I mean, obviously you want to set them up and have them use this once, or is that a common practice once you deploy something that we test it out a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like if we were to do a condo association or a military base, aside from having our main installation on whatever floor or whatever height, we like to do a training system. So we do it on the second floor. We take people up 10, 15 feet in the air. The system operates exactly the same. Feels the same, but it's important that they feel it and can build that confidence in it, because God forbid they need that in the middle of the night. They can say, okay, well, I've done this before. I know what to do. I know what to expect. It's just a little bit longer of a ride to the ground. And we try to get our users to do that. So yearly, you go to a residential complex that might have them installed, multiples installed, and say, all right, we're going to do this after the homeowner association meeting. Let's all come down here for coffee, and Ryan's going to show us how to jump off the second floor. And anybody else who wants to try it, you know, is welcome to try it then.
That's awesome.
From a safe height. We don't want to put anybody in harm's way. We can do that's a stunt. We can do the fire department mannequin, the heavy mannequin. We'll send that off the top of the building.
There you go.
And let them see how it works. But we don't need to put a human life in there.
So
it's a stunt.
So the message I'm hoping my audience is taking away is, first of all, prepare for your own safety. Second of all, prepare twice. You know, find an alternative method to your first method of preparation in case that fails. In Hawaii, I hope if you're watching this that you consider some of these high-rise escape systems so that we don't lose more lives the same way that we did just recently with that Marco Polo incident, because it doesn't seem necessary to me. I think we have alternatives that we can investigate. Ryan, thank you so much for taking your time and spending some time with us. And I'm going to probably catch up to you again maybe at the end of the year before the holidays. It seems like there's tragedy around the holidays, so maybe we'll do another update then.
It's a pleasure. I'm happy to help, Andrew.
Great. Thank you so much. Everybody, thanks for joining today, because security matters. Aloha.